Okay, the caucuses are right around the corner, and I want to discuss why I don't think Hillary Clinton should be president despite being a traitor. I actually support Bernie Sanders. How crazy is that, Tango? Okay, let me explain. Don't get me wrong, Hillary Clinton is a strong, smart woman, and I actually admire her and her success, and I hope to be a respected, accomplished public speaker like her one day. However, Hillary Clinton is much better suited to be a CEO or executive rather than a public servant. While the idea of finally getting a female president is exciting, sadly, Hillary isn't a true, serious progressive like Bernie Sanders. And no, it's so ironic and weird that I, as a currency and stock options trader, would support Bernie Sanders. Isn't that crazy, Tango? Yes, Tango thinks it's crazy too. Why would a trader who wants to make as much money, who wants to avoid capital gains taxes, want to support Bernie Sanders? It's crazy, right? I will actually discuss why I, as a trader, support Bernie Sanders in my next video, mainly because of the fact that he's such a strong champion for the middle class, which will ultimately stimulate our economy. Also, Hillary Clinton only wants the minimum wage to be $12 an hour, as opposed to Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley's $15 an hour. Here's the thing, $15 an hour might seem like a lot of money, but it's a living wage in today's economy. It's 2016 and you cannot pay the grocery bills or even keep a roof over your head at $7 an hour. If wages had kept pace with the rate of productivity since the 60s and 70s, the minimum wage would actually be about $21 an hour. But anyways, back to Hillary. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-corporate or anti-finance. In fact, as a YouTuber, I love corporate sponsors. In fact, I plan to use sponsorships as a big part of my revenue model, and I plan to fund many videos through sponsorships. But here's the thing, politicians should not have sponsorships. It creates many conflicts of interest, and it perpetuates the culture of dark money and bribery in politics, and it is just, as public servants, it's just completely wrong and unethical. Okay, here are the 5 reasons why I don't think Hillary Clinton should be president and why she isn't the best candidate. Number 1, she's had way too many corporate donors, which leads to many different conflicts of interest. Number 2, she has a long record of inconsistencies and flip-flopping on many big issues. Number 3, she's had many scandals, and in the next year, there will probably be more that will eventually come to light. Number 4, she has an image problem and not many people can trust her. Number 5, she is not very relatable to the middle class. She can't relate very well to the middle class, and I don't think she'll represent their best interests when she's in office. Back to Hillary. Some of her corporate donors include, obviously, Wall Street, Big Pharma and Big Insurance, Monsanto and Dow, biotech companies, for-profit prisons, and even big oil. Yes, including ExxonMobil. Also, just to clarify, some of these big companies didn't donate directly to Hillary's campaign herself. Many times it was lobbyists or bundlers who have ties to them. Wall Street's paid her several $1 million in speaking fees over the years. I know Goldman Sachs gave her $200,000 an hour to speak for them. And I know they've donated many millions to her foundation. Here are a few noteworthy examples of some huge conflicts of interest with her corporate sponsorships. Number 1, Gordon Griffin donated $100,000 to her campaign, and he has some serious ties with the Keystone Pipeline. He's a lobbyist for a company that was building the Keystone Pipeline, and he is a member of the CIBC, which is an investor in the Keystone Pipeline. Number 2, I've paid Hillary $1.5 million in total speaking fees. TD Bank and CIBC are investors and directly profiting from the Keystone Pipeline. Considering they gave her $1.5 million in speaking fees, it's not much of a surprise that it took Hillary Clinton 5 years to come out formally against the Keystone Pipeline, which is strongly opposed by most Democrats. And even though she claims that she never formally took a position on the Keystone Pipeline, in 2010 she hinted and implied that her committee would approve the pipeline. Now, like she said, over those 5 years, she was very tight-lipped about it and she did not formally support it. Number 3, Monsanto and Dow, 2 huge biotech companies, have given a few $1 million directly to her foundation. She also has a Monsanto lobbyist working with her. She's had some donations from Monsanto bundlers. Number 4, lobbying groups from 2 private prison companies have donated $133,000 to her campaign. That is a huge conflict of interest, especially for justice reform. Number 5, about $5 million was given directly to her foundation by Pfizer and Procter & Gamble. 2 big pharmacy executives also donated to her campaign. Once again, it's a conflict of interest not just with healthcare and lower medication, but also with marijuana, because Hillary Clinton refuses to support legalizing marijuana or even decriminalizing it. Also, so far, Big Pharmacy has given $160,000 to her 2016 campaign just in the first quarter. There's probably many more donations from the latter part of 2015 and from dark money super PACs, but that is yet to be seen. Here are a few examples of her conflicts of interest. Number 1, she doesn't want to reinstate the Glass-Steagall Act, which could prevent another recession. Number 2, she has not signed an agreement to not take donations from oil, coal, and gas companies. Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders have both signed it. Number 3, for years she supported the TPP, which would largely benefit big pharma and GMO biotech companies, mainly at the expense of the environment. It's also widely opposed by many Democrats, and only recently, in October 2015, did she reverse her position on the TPP and oppose it, conveniently a few days before the Las Vegas debate. Her reversal on the TPP is one of the most glaring examples of her inconsistencies and flip-flopping. Number 4, she's highly unlikely to do much justice reform, if any at all. She's against legalizing and even decriminalizing weed, which is seen as a huge threat to big pharma because of its medicinal properties, mainly pain relief, which many claim to be a possible cure for cancer and seizures. The millions of dollars from big pharma, big insurance, and means she's unlikely to do much at all to reform the severely broken prison system and the unfair criminalization of marijuana, which is much less dangerous than alcohol. Millions of families have been broken and destroyed by the failed war on drugs and the subsequent rise of the for-profit prison, which has created a massive influx and demand for prisoners. So not only is Hillary highly unlikely to make any reforms in these areas, she will probably enforce them even more. Anyways, I will discuss my 5 reasons against Hillary in the next video. I will go into much more detail and give many more detailed examples. Also, I want to leave you with these closing thoughts. Bernie is a true progressive, and he was a champion of LGBT rights long before the mainstream was, and certainly much longer before Hillary. In 1983, Bernie Sanders created the first LGBT pride parade in Vermont. It didn't happen until 1984, but he was a supporter of those rights literally decades before anybody else. And in 1995, he strongly defended LGBT people in the military when another politician bashed them in favor of don't ask, don't tell. In 2000, Bernie supported civil unions in Vermont, which was an early version of gay marriage. In 2006, he officially supported gay marriage. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, didn't support it until 2013, when most of the country and most politicians supported it too. She was pretty late to the party, and in 2004, she was actually blatantly against it. She said, oh, marriage is between a man and a woman, and she dismissed LGBT rights and the protections that marriage affords them, and that is very crucial, and it further reinforces her reputation of inconsistency and flip-flopping. But for now, Tango and I have to go. We hope you enjoyed our video, and we hope you will consider voting for Bernie Sanders. Right, Tango? Yeah, that's about it. We hope you liked our video. Bye. Can you say bye, Tango?